Hello and welcome back. Now, this conversation right here is one I've been looking forward to. It's time for Book Chat. The book we have today is titled From Prison to Photography. It's a piece that chronicles Seun Akisanmi's journey from his first entrepreneurial adventure in the United States of America to prison. Seun is a highly skilled and experienced photographer who is also the convener of Nigeria Photography Expo and Conferences, NIFEC, and he's been instrumental in building the careers of over 3,000 photographers in Nigeria and abroad. It's actually an honor to have you in the studio. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's an honor to be here too.
Now, you put together a book that, what they say, a picture is 1,000 words. And you are into photography, so you do understand what I mean by that.
Yes.
But you decided to chronicle your journey through something that a lot of people would have probably decided to hide.
Cover.
Why did you decide to put this together?
Okay, for me, after 21 years, going through that, I just felt, the time was right. And especially when I looked, around the world that we live in right now and how so many people go into depression for things that, when you compare it to what maybe some people have gone through, you'll be like, that's a small thing. Now, why did he kill himself? So I felt that was my way of bringing a contribution to the world of at least, even if 10,000 people are killing themselves, if I could reduce it by 2 or 5. And more importantly, to give parents that have stubborn children like me hope that things can be better, and to give those stubborn children hope that, look, get a mentor or you will end up like me in prison. So a lot of reasons mixed up into one shawarma.
So now I believe the viewers will want to know exactly what you did and what led to you going into prison. So I know for a fact that you were in the university in Illinois in the US before this happened.
Yes.
Tell us what happened next.
Okay, so I discovered that even though I was in US to study accounting and be like my dad, I actually found out that I was an entrepreneur to the core, someone that saw opportunities and problems. So when I got to university, I started a business, partnered with Amazon, eBay, and Yahoo, and started selling books, coincidentally.
Wow.
And eventually grew an online following. Amazon was really helping to sell.
Yeah.
And sales were going so well that we wanted to expand and be like a Jumia.
Okay.
And then we got into gadgets and got a supply from one guy that eventually I found out was a 419 guy, an American. And I got supplies from him to try to sell to other people, collected their money and paid to this guy, and only to find out I was a fraud. And these people were chasing me, where's my money? And before you know it, they wasted no time in reporting me to the police.
Wow.
The police actually searched for me because America is big.
Yeah, sure.
So 6 months later, they got to me. And the first question they eventually asked was, okay, we gave you a visa to come and study.
Yeah.
Why are you running a business?
Wow.
And that's how they were just transferring me from one prison to the other. Before you know it, I was spending almost 6 months waiting for Judgment Day, in quotes. That's like the super summary of it.
So how many prisons in total did you end up?
Just four.
Just 4?
Yeah, just 4.
Just 4
Only,
in the
only,
US.
only.
Now, everybody in their mind now is having, visions of what they've seen in the movies about American prisons. I have to ask, how much of it is true?
Okay, so I'll probably tell you 100% of it is true. I remember the first prison I was in. I was in the waiting area, and this guy was on the phone. He was like, if you don't do this, I'm going to come and kill you. And it was like a scene I've seen in a movie. And I was like, the guy at the other end, if only you can believe that this guy means it, because he apparently has connections.
Wow.
So it's really, really true. And one of my best movies is from Prison Break.
Okay.
I mean, it was like, I knew what it was like. Of course, I didn't attempt a break, but 100% true, what we see in movies.
So now, hop, skip, and jump later. You served your time.
Yes.
Were charges dropped, or you had to serve the time?
So we had to do, retribution? Or, yeah. And my dad had to sell some of his shares.
Okay.
And my dad's like the father of the prodigal son.
Wow.
So he sold, and eventually America still banned me for 10 years, which was over 2011.
Okay.
So I think I served my time and paid, my price. So.
Yeah. But now, you're into photography. Your love for photography has now brought you to a place where you're inspiring thousands of other young photographers. And from the cover of the book, we can see the quality of the photography we're talking about here, just a little glimpse. But there was something you said earlier about depression. How were you able to adjust your mindset from feeling the stigma of being a convict to now starting a very, very great business in photography?
Oh, so I think it will probably start with a meeting I had with my father when I got back. My father was like, guys, sit down. I saw the notes you were writing in prison. If you say you want to kill yourself, last is 1 year we will mourn you. So get your life together, you know. And I'm sure this advice may not work for all children. But it started from there, and I realized that, look, I needed to put in my best to start delivering results that would speak, you know, louder for me. And eventually I joined a church that, you know, understood the type of person I was, entrepreneurial, you know, church. And eventually, you know, putting myself into it, the works that I was delivering, whether in photography quality or the people I was training, was speaking louder than whatever past, you know, work I had done. And eventually all those new works were replacing my story on Google.
Okay.
And eventually it wasn't that much of a big deal.
So in other words, so we know how Nigerians are. There's a lot of cho-cho-cho, there's a lot of whispers in corners. You know that guy, did you know that guy went to prison? So that stigma, those distractions, you're saying that all that changed?
For me, I think it also helped knowing that for each step of the way, I knew one person that was like a role model. Coming into photography, for example, I had a family meeting and they were all against it. They were like, 20 years ago, you sent your child abroad, and you're now coming back, you're saying photo. My dad said photo kini. But in my head, I was like, there's one guy called Kelechi Amadi Obi. That guy has been a photographer since 1864. If he's been successful, I can be successful. So every step of the way, I was seeing a role model that gave me what I'll call Wi-Fi strength. You know, from afar, I was being inspired. So maybe I'm just a resilient and stubborn guy. I just feel if that guy can do it, I can survive, you know, this.
So I know that you have a message for parents and also for some young people. Would you like to give them that message now? Okay,
so for parents, the average parents actually think sending their children abroad is a solution because they love their children. I tell parents now that prepare those children for at least 1 to 3 years because life in America is not as sweet as you think. What you see on CNN is, you know, tainted. The serious one is what shows up. So especially if you are concerned about Christian, good moral values. So for me, my parents, you know, they did their best. But if there had been somebody that I was accountable to, yes, my dad's friends were there, but I didn't, you know, I wasn't accountable to them. If I was accountable to them, it would have probably reduced the chances of me getting into business. They would have said, no, finish your education. So get people that your children can be accountable to. It's easier to start that training before they leave. That's for parents. For the young ones that are probably going through different forms of what I call shege, I tell them, look, it's just for a period of time. And that's the reason I wrote this book. In fact, the book is not necessarily to make money, but to let people know that, look, if I could go through different masters, BSc, and PhD in shege, and I graduated, I'm still okay, you too can go through it by reading my story, and, you know, you can survive and become better.
I have to say a big thank you to you, Seun Akisanmi here, the author of From Prison to Photography, our book on Book Chat today. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
And really well done with the work you're doing with all the photographers.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, at this point, we would like to go to the kitchen because our chef has been cooking up a storm right here in the studio.